In the break, I tried to quickly redesign my thesis to make it look better, but it's impossible in short time. So it's a tough show to follow, but thank you for the opportunity. I want to start by giving some context to the work that I'm going to present. The United States, it's risking losing its innovation. It's at risk of losing its innovation edge, I believe. And there's several factors for this. Emerging countries are growing and creating conditions for their own to stay and develop the creative fields in those countries. Technology is erasing borders, so this also creates an idea that different countries can benefit from different ideas and different technologies. And the third one is that the United States government has adopted very anachronic immigration policies. So during this presentation, I'm going to be touching briefly on some of the economical and social aspects that are affecting the output of innovation in the country, but I'm going to pay particular attention to the immigration policies because it's there where I think I have an alternative for small and medium-sized companies like mine to still participate in the global skill race, kind of finding a bridge from the government restrictions. So I have created a concept which is the name of the thesis that I'm calling the Virtual Innovation Partnerships, VIPs centers. And what these virtual innovation partnerships are aiming to do is to lead the American creative industries into the global skill race. This is the title of the thesis, and this is what I'm putting my effort on, hopefully conveying in the next 20 minutes. I think we're going to go early to lunch, hopefully. I want to start by giving some historic factors that are going to help me to point out at the contradiction of these immigration policies. And one of these main factors is the whole idea surrounding the American dream. The United States was built as a nation on the sweat and effort of immigrants. It's very hard to find, especially after the beginning of the 20th century, it's very hard to find a purely American family. It is a country that is built on immigration. It also has built its reputation and superpower status by its technology and innovation domain in various creative industries. Creative industries that go from a very, very wide range of spectrums. From the creation of Hollywood, which was basically an industry created by immigration in the early 20th century, to most importantly for this case, the tech boom from the 90s, from 1990 to the year 2000. One of the founders of Google was an immigrant. One of the founders of eBay was an immigrant. One of the founders of Yahoo was an immigrant. There's an enormous importance, and it's almost impossible to measure the great, great contribution of high-skilled talent, high-skilled immigrant talent into the technology boom of the creative industries on the country. And we are losing this talent. And I'm going to talk about why and what can we do about it. But also there's an economical factor that is very important. American companies founded by immigrants just in the year 2006 employed almost 500,000 people and generated $52 billion in growth. So there's an economic aspect to it. And also there's an output, a really, really heavy output of both innovation and reputation from this high-skill immigrant talent. Look at this number. 26% of Nobel Prize winners from America, only from 1990 to the year 2000, were immigrants. 26% of the prize winners between 1990 and 2000 representing America were not Americans. This brings a high number of output of ideas that we cannot put at risk. Today, America's leadership is being challenged, and there's three additional factors that I want to point out. Baby boomers are retiring, and the birth rate of the country is not at a par of those of the emerging economies. Second, and very importantly, the education system of the United States is far off its output as a nation. It's sad, the state of the education system in the United States. The elementary education in the United States is below number 50 in the world. It's really a problem in the long run. And third, to start segueing into part of my initial thesis, is that there's immigration policies that are affecting the ability of companies to bring hard-skilled talent to the United States. And again, I'm going to focus on medium and small size companies and try to offer an alternative for them. There's a very clear before and after for this situation, which is 9/11. After 9/11, the country basically closed its doors to the world. It isolated, which is an absolute contradiction with what had made the country be what it is now. There's a very significant factor that if you kind of think about it for a few seconds, it is bizarre. The INS became part of Homeland Security. The INS is the Immigration and Naturalization Services. It was the agency founded to welcome people, to give them the conditions to naturalize, to give them the conditions to assimilate and to use. Well, now it has become part of Homeland Security, and every immigrant in the United States became a suspect. When you get into the airport, your fingerprints are taken, your photos are taken. Put this in the perspective with what all the other countries, as I'm going to touch later, are doing to retain and bring this talent, and it's really affecting the output of talent. Very severe visa restrictions went into place after 9/11. And let me give you some numbers. The number of working visas for high-skilled immigrants has been limited. There's a visa called the H1B Visa, which is the visa for high talent. That visa in the year 2000 was offered to 150,000 high-skilled immigrants coming to the United States. The government cut that visa to 60,000. So in the year 2000, that visa was offered to 150,000 high-skilled immigrants to work. In the year 2009, is to 60,000. And not only that, but these 60,000 are going through a much more scrupulous application process, and these 60,000 visas are given away only in the first 2 months of the year. So if you lose the application at that moment, then you cannot apply until the next year. But for those few that come, there's another hurdle that is very difficult to surpass, which is high-skilled immigrants that come to the United States with one of these H1B visas are not guaranteed to obtain a green card. So they live truly the life of second-class citizens. Because think from this case, if a high-skilled immigrant from India comes to the Silicon Valley area, but he has a wife, an H1B visa doesn't allow his wife to work. And the wife has not the right for something that is called the Social Security number, and without the Social Security number in the United States, you cannot have a cell phone. You cannot drive. You cannot get a driver's license. So you're going to have your wife inside your house, bitching all day, wanting to go back to the country, while you're trying to make a living. So even this visa is not giving you the resources to find a green card. The other aspect that I discovered during my research, and I didn't know in depth, was that these visa restrictions are also affecting, most importantly, the student foundation of the country. International graduate students have new visa restrictions and no clear path to obtain work after graduation. This means the following. In 2007, 12% of the MBA applications in the United States universities were done by immigrant students. These immigrant students have a higher education level than the locals because they come from countries way above the number 50 in elementary school. Okay? So this is highly prepared people that we're not accepting. This 12% of applications in 2007 on acceptance in 2007 became 4% in 2008. So 8% less immigrant MBA students in the universities in the United States. I guess plus 20, right? That decide to study someplace else. All this is happening, this visa restriction. Well, the other thing that is very important here is that when you get a visa to study in the United States, it does not guarantee you a visa to obtain work after that. So you may study and finish your PhD in NYU, you won't be able to work. You need to go back to your country. So the United States is educating people and sending them back, which for me it's a very, very stupid mistake. All this is happening at the same time that the world is going through what intellectuals and academians are talking, the global skill race. What this means is that now more than ever, talent is the most needed resource. Human talent is the most precious resource for any company and for any industry, and particularly for the creative industries. Today, and there's no exaggeration, there's thousands of high-skilled professionals from India and China returning home every month from the United States. Because India and China, as I mentioned before, as part of the economical aspects, are creating and attracting, creating the conditions to attract and reclaim their talent. These high-educated, high-skilled immigrants that are living in the United States are going back to their countries, and they, no doubt about it, will apply in their country of origin all the innovation that they could have applied in the United States if the country was able to reclaim them. It's not crazy to think that in the next 5 or 10 years, the next Google or the next Apple is going to be in India. It is an absolute possibility. But also there's a host of other countries, as we all, I'm sure, read and learned from Richard Florida, that are generating creative hubs around the world. And these countries, and these are just samples, there's a few more, especially different cities in different countries. These countries are doing it they are attracting talent via the same things that the United States did in the past and stopped doing after 9/11, which is through higher regard for high-skilled workers, more flexible immigration laws, and more tolerant societies. Richard Florida also says that the economical growth for the United States over the last 2 decades has been the creative industries. And in some of the most iconic American creative industries, we have seen also other countries imitating the formula with much success. And I'm going to put a very simple example, which is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. This is maybe the biggest project in the history of filmmaking. It was done out of Hollywood, entirely in New Zealand. But this beyond the movies. It's all the industry that this creates around it. New technology was developed to do these films. The number of jobs that did open, the economic push for the country, and for that city in particular. I mean, a project of this magnitude brings a number of great opportunities that the country is starting to see slip away. So, what I have done was to conduct research with 73 current and recent graduates of MBA and PhD in American universities. The current graduates current students still living in the United States, and the recent graduates, people that completed PhD and MBAs and went back to their country of origins. I did this through the University of Texas, which allow me their database of PhD and MBAs that went back to their countries, and I interviewed 20 of them in Austin in person, and close to 60 more online through their country of origins. In the written paper, there's a little more of an in-depth sample, but let me just briefly capture what are the main learnings. Learnings that some of them supported my initial thesis, and some others helped me enrich the solution. The attitudes towards the United States have shifted among international students and high-skilled workers. The American dream is not believed anymore. People laugh at it. The United States is no longer the only unanimous choice for personal progress and a high-end career. People can go to other universities around the world. There's universities in the emerging countries. There's even a sense that if I'm not accepted in an American university, it's the loss of the American university, not mine, which 10 or 15 years ago it was entirely a tragedy. The other thing that is very apparent in this sample, and I knew getting into the research that it was going to be that way, but I discovered that it's more dramatic so, is that this new generation of immigrants are not willing to endure the sacrifice that previous generations did. They couldn't care less. You don't want me? I'll stay home. I'm not going to change my name. I'm not going to assimilate. I'm not going to learn the language. I don't care. I got options. I got alternatives. Plus, your image sucks. You know? I mean, you have destroyed your image for the last 10 years. It's your loss, not mine. And third, also, kind of complementing some of the theses of Wolf and Sergio, people is seeking a much, much, much better balance between work and life, and technology allows you to do that. Technology allows you to erase the virtual distance, to really be glued together as a society. Now, going into my recommendation, I want to start by saying that we cannot, as a small and medium company that is fueled by high-skilled immigrant talent, we cannot wait for the government to change the law. The government is way too busy fighting the war on terror and the very terrifying economic crisis. So the government has a lot of problems in their hands, and immigration is a very hot potato in the United States. So it is my recommendation for small and medium-sized companies to take matters in their own hands. So I think that as a result of the research, I think that all conditions are in place now to generate what I'm calling the virtual innovation partnerships. And this is how they would work. My recommendation is to establish these virtual innovation partnerships in creative cities around the world that welcome high-skilled workforce. Okay, so take some of those cities that are already very well defined in the maps of Florida, and cities that are already working smartly in providing the right immigration policies to attract talent during this global skill force. So go to those cities and establish VIP centers that would be sponsored by American companies. I'll explain more in detail now. The idea is that an American, and by American companies I'm not talking Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and all those big capitalist great names that one may immediately associate with American company. I'm talking purely, with no political bias, on companies based in the United States. That's an American company, okay, for the cases of this. So the VIP Center would be sponsored by an American company, but would work as a partnership with entrepreneurial, high-skilled immigrants trained in the United States. Partnership is the key word here. This is the difference between outsourcing and my proposal of the VIP centers. The idea, to put simply, is as a company you identify high-skilled talent in American universities, and you offer them a partnership to open an innovative office sponsored by your company but sharing revenue in a country outside of the United States. Let me tell you more or less how this would work. So one of the advantages of it is that this would create not branches, but small, flexible, highly independent and innovative enterprises, because they're going to be led by entrepreneurs. For the American company, it would provide the possibility of using top international talent without the current visa restrictions, so will allow you to participate in the output of innovation. And it would also give for the American company the first right of exclusivity for the output generated by these VIP centers. It's an arrangement in which the American company benefits from a first right of use of the output of these innovation centers, and it would allow the company to either sell to a second company what you don't take, or to profit, generating really a very interesting business proposition to your partner. For the partner, this would mean the support of an established company to open a business and the opportunity to satisfy his entrepreneurial spirit. Because it's very different to tell somebody, hey, I want you to go and be the general manager in my office in Sydney, than telling him, hey, I want you to go with me, let's open together a company in Sydney. It's your company, we're going to share the revenue, I got right to use part of your output, you can do the rest for yourself. So you're building this entrepreneurial spirit with a high-skilled immigrant. Because my idea is that high-skilled immigrants are the pioneers of the 21st century. In a world without borders, high-skilled immigrants are the ones that are going where others have not gone, and are the ones that already have the conditions and the human condition of living their place in the first place and moving out of their comfort zone. From here, there's a very brief idea of what I'm calling the pioneer leader. There's a great definition. These are all Oxford definitions of what pioneer means. It's a person who is among those who first enter or settle a region, or who is first of or among the earliest in any field of inquiry, enterprise, or progress, one who ventures into an honor or claimed territory, one who opens up new areas of thought, research, or development. So high-skilled immigrants are the pioneers of the 21st century. These entrepreneurial people who are charged with the desire and stamina needed to go where others have never ventured. So it makes them ideal partners to lead these VIP centers. Pioneer leaders are not afraid of new situations, as I mentioned before. They will be quick to try different things and adapt to their environment. They're very nimble, they're very flexible, and they have the ability to change the perspective if the enterprise demanded. So they have a lot of the conditions that are needed in today's non-borders economy to succeed. Pioneers are, in essence, innovators with a high cultural sensibility. I want to recap again that the VIP centers are not a simplistic model of outsourcing. The key difference here is that you are allowing for enterprise to be built around the idea for mutual benefit. It is truly an opportunity for American creative companies to foster the entrepreneurial spirit of high-skilled workers, opening a new door, hopefully, for collaboration beyond the notions of nations and borders. Thank you.